Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. Welcome to the Healing Power of Plant Foods cooking class. I'm April, and in the kitchen with me tonight is Jan. She's going to help me out just a lot. And we are super excited to have you here tonight. There truly is healing power in plant foods, and that is what I'm here to talk to you about, as well as show you how to implement them into your diet with some delicious recipes. And we're heading into cold and flu season, or actually we're in the midst of it. And I was just listening to one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Brooke Goldner, today she does a live Q&A every Wednesday at 12:30. I highly recommend tuning into her. She was talking about, immunity and the things you can do to boost it up, and it's all in your food, in your diet. All your antioxidants and phytochemicals and all the nutrients that come from the foods that we eat to strengthen our immune system. So that's what we're kind of focusing on these days, is just keeping our immune system strong so we don't get the colds and the flus and all the viruses and things that are going around out there. We don't want any of it. So far, I've been really good over the winter months so far. So hopefully that'll keep up. So just a little bit about myself. I come from a standard American family, eating the standard American diet, and I've watched all my family get the standard American diseases. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes. In fact, both my parents died of cancer, and kidney failure, high blood pressure, all the things that are the standard American diseases. And I decided a long time ago, back in my early 20s, as I was kind of watching my family go through all the things that they were going through, bypass surgeries and things like that, I decided that there was something that I wanted to do to try to minimize what many would say is my genetic destiny. I knew that wasn't true. I knew that there was something that I could do, and at the time I thought it was exercise, so I became a kind of an exercise fiend. I was at the gym every night lifting weights and doing cardio and all that kind of stuff, and I loved it. But I was kind of ignoring the food. I mean, I was trying to eat healthy, a healthy standard American diet, but I found that it kind of caught up with me, and I wasn't feeling very good. I went to the doctor, and he wanted to put me on some thyroid medications, and I just knew I didn't want to go that route with the medications and things like that. And so right about that time, a friend of mine gave me some books, and I was reading Dr. John McDougall, John Robbins, Fit for Life. I can't remember who wrote that, but anyway, and they all promoted a vegetarian diet, which I didn't want to do. I just thought, I got to have my dairy and my meat and all that, fish and chicken and things like that. I had already kind of cut back to just your fish and chicken and things like that, but I still didn't feel very good. So after reading Fit for Life, I pretty much went 100% plant-based overnight, and my world changed. My energy level just skyrocketed. I felt so much better. I had a little bit better handle on my weight, because that was always a little bit of an obsession of mine as well. And I just loved it. I felt so good, and the food tasted good, and I just over the years have learned to different ways of cooking, and that was back in 1991. So I've been cooking, eating, preparing whole food plant-based meals ever since then. Been teaching since 2005. And I love it. And I love to hear other people's experiences, and that motivates me to keep going, because I've heard so many people who have drastically changed their health outcomes, even reversed cancer, even reversed heart disease, gotten off their diabetes medication. It all can be done with food. So wherever you're at in the dietary spectrum, whether you're just kind of scratching the surface or you're deep in there, I think there's always a little bit room for improvement. So I hope to kind of motivate you to do a little more. And that's my message, is to eat more. I don't talk too much about things that we shouldn't eat, although I do a little bit. I encourage you to eat more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains, legumes, some nuts and seeds, and just get more of that into your diet. And the more you get that in, the other stuff kind of gets crowded out. So anyway, we've got a good menu tonight, I believe. It's perfect for cold season. We're doing an immune boosting chili, and we're doing some oven roasted sweet potato medley with vegetables, and a romaine and cabbage salad, and some banana bread cookies. Perfect for this time of year. We want to stay home and bake cookies when it's cold, right? So we're going to go ahead and start with our chili. And please, if you have any questions, just feel free to speak up. I'm often doing my thing and blabbing away, and you'll just need to speak up or raise your hand if you want, but I might not see you. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn on my burner. Probably put it on sort of high. We're going to start off. I'm going to start off with our chili, if I didn't say that, and I'm going to cut my onion. Start off with that. And onions are allium vegetables. They are in the family with garlic and leeks and scallions. And onions have organosulfur compounds. Oop, and this is a really, really big onion. I don't know that we're going to use the whole thing. But we experience those organosulfur compounds every time we cut an onion open. It doesn't smell like much before it's cut, but you start chopping that thing and the floodgates open, right? Your eyes start to water and you're experiencing those compounds. And those are anti-cancer compounds. They decrease risk of heart disease and they reduce inflammation in the body, anti-inflammatory. A population study involving 10 countries showed that people who eat the most onions had 60 to 70% of most all cancers. And I'm using my Vidalia Chop Wizard to chop these onions. Hopefully I have the right blade in there. Yes, I've got about a 1/2 inch blade in there, and they also have a smaller dice blade. And this is a really handy tool to have when you're cutting a lot of vegetables. And I hope after tonight, even if you're not now, I hope you start cutting lots of vegetables, because we want to eat lots of vegetables. By the way, if you haven't discovered organic onions at Costco, little, I don't know, probably a 5-pound bag, they've been really good. No more tears when you're using this thing. By the way, who's been here before? Anybody? Okay, so we've got a couple here. Welcome. Welcome to those who haven't. Glad you're here. So I'm going to put this right in my pan. I got that just a little bit too hot. And I think we won't use all of that because that's quite a lot. Now I'm dry sauteing this onion right now. I don't ever use any oil at all. Oil's 120 calories. Whoa, that onion is strong. Oil's 120 calories of pure fat. It's the highest calorie, lowest nutrient food that we consume. It increases inflammation in the bottom. In fact, I've heard it to be an inflammation bomb when you're talking about rheumatoid arthritis and any inflammatory issues. Oh man. That is a strong onion. It increases risk of heart disease. All oils, even olive oil. And that information comes from Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn with the Cleveland Clinic. He's the director of preventive cardiology there. And he has reversed heart disease. And I'm talking heart disease, people that come to him that have their arteries, 85% blockages in their arteries. And they are needing bypass surgery. And they come to him and say, hey doc, I don't want to have my chest cut open and veins moved around. I want to change my diet. Can you help me? And he does. 98% success rate, and he says absolutely no oils. Oils injure the endothelial cells. I'm having a hard time regulating this because I'm not used to cooking with gas. Even though I cook here every month with gas, I just can never get used to it. It injures your endothelial cells. And endothelial cells, they line your blood vessels, and they produce a gas called nitric oxide. Is that something that's beeping back here? I'm going to go ahead and chop my mushrooms, or cut my mushrooms while I'm talking. They injure your endothelial cells. And your endothelial cells line the blood vessels, and they produce a gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide keeps your blood vessels flowing. The blood in your blood blood in your blood vessels flowing like Teflon. We all know we've all used a Teflon pan, and we know how things slide around in it. We want our blood vessels just like that, so that the blood flows through very smoothly. And that's what those endothelial cells do. They produce that nitric oxide. Now, when we take a meal that's got, I guess we'll go ahead and put those in there now. We'll go ahead and we'll eat a meal that's got olive oil in it or any kind of oil. And within 4 hours after consumption, it slows blood flow by 40%. They've done the tourniquet test where they put the tourniquet on your arm, and then they measure the blood flow, kind of like a blood pressure cuff, and it shows greatly impedes that blood flow. And I don't want you to listen to me. I'd like you to go home and listen to him, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. You've got him listed on the back of your paper under April's favorites. He's listed there as one of my favorite doctors. And now if you're really healthy and you're going out, working out every day and going for a run, and all your numbers are really good, you're not having any cholesterol problems, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see the camera will go to my pan. It's getting a little bit brown. It's kind of starting to stick a little bit. But at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to just take a little bit of water, or whatever you want to use, some balsamic vinegar or whatever, and we're just going to add that. And that water's going to bring off the browning that's on the bottom of the pan, which is just your caramelizing of those onions. And now we're doing a soup, so it doesn't really matter how much water we put in there, because we're going to put more. We don't want to put too much, because I like to cook my vegetables in just a little bit of water before we put the whole soup together. Anyway, go find him on YouTube. He's got all kinds of videos. He's got a book out, Reverse Heart Disease. And he's not necessarily the most entertaining speaker, but he's very, I mean, the way he describes everything, it just makes so much sense, and he's just very passionate about getting the information out and does a great job with that. So, okay, so we want to add some mushrooms to this. I was going to add the broccoli first. Actually, you know, I think I'll do is get a bowl, because I don't like to cook those mushrooms too much. I mean, we want them cooked, but I don't want them cooked to death, because that broccoli is going to need more cooking than the mushrooms. Now, the one thing that produces that nitric oxide is green leafy vegetables. Green leafy vegetables are the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods next to chia seeds. And they have the most anti-cancer compounds. Green leafy vegetables, especially your cruciferous vegetables, have the most powerful effect against cancer. And your cruciferous vegetables are kale and collards, broccoli, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, arugula, watercress, cabbage, all your cabbagey type vegetables. And cruciferous vegetables increase the liver's ability to remove toxins from your body. They stimulate your immune function. Actually, they work best when they're raw, but many people can't do like an all raw diet. They want to eat some cooked foods. I like eating cooked foods, and there are still good compounds in cooked foods. So cruciferous vegetables double the protection of cancer than the other green leafy vegetables. Green leafy vegetables are good to protect you from cancer, but cruciferous vegetables give you double the protection of that. They protect your body from carcinogens up to 2 weeks after consumption. Women who get 1 cup of cruciferous vegetables a day have been shown to decrease risk of breast cancer by 50%. So just 1 cup. That's pretty easy to get, and raw again is even better. And that's pretty easy to get in like a salad. I have red cabbage in my salad pretty much, I do every day, along with some kale. We want about 3 cups of broccoli in here. So, and I like to use the florets. That's my favorite part of the broccoli. I'll use a little bit of the stalk if I need to add that extra. And I actually like the stalk raw. So does my dog. When I'm chopping broccoli in the kitchen, she's at my feet wanting me to give her some, and I always do. It protects her from cancer as well. My neighbors have lost like 3 dogs to cancer, so I'm thinking a lot of that has a lot to do with the diet they're getting as well. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. I need to put the garlic in still. Men who eat 3 servings of cruciferous vegetables a week cut the risk of prostate cancer by 41%, and the effects are dose dependent. So the more that you eat, the more protection you're getting. We're going to throw in some garlic cloves. I've got 4 cloves of garlic here. Garlic, again, is one of those allium vegetables, just like your onion. They've got powerful effects against cancer, against inflammation, decreases risk of heart disease. And it tastes so good. You just got to make sure your spouse that you live with or whoever you live with eat it as well, because then you don't notice it on each other. That's from what I understand. And just like the onion, the more you chop, like as you're chopping this right here, you're breaking open the cell wall, and this applies to green leafy vegetables as well. You're breaking up the cell wall and making those nutrients get released from the cell, and then they kind of work together. There's all kinds of different compounds in foods, and when you chop them up, you're releasing those compounds. They come together and they create other compounds, which are so beneficial to the body. Anti-inflammatory, immune boosting, and all the good stuff. All right, we'll go there. I'll just add just a little bit more water in with that. Now, if you wanted to load up your pot with broth or water, and I'm using water, by the way. I don't ever buy broth. What happens is unless I'm going to use the whole thing, but even then, I find that broth is, if you get the no salt broth, which I like to put my own salt in. I do use salt, but I want to put my own salt in. And if I get the low sodium broth, it doesn't taste, it's pretty bland. And I feel like I'll just use water and just add extra seasonings or something if I need to. So I just use water. So, okay. We are going to just put, anyway, yeah, if you wanted to put the broth in here, or all the water, all your vegetables, and just cook it for half hour, 45 minutes, or whatever it needs to until everything's cooked, you can do that. I like to cook it with less water, and it cooks a little bit quicker, because really the only thing that I need to really get cooked is the broccoli, and make sure it's not crunchy. I don't want crunchy broccoli in my chili. I just want it nice and soft still. And by the way, I chopped, I didn't mention that this is a good way to chop your broccoli to hide it when you're trying to hide it from people that really would think it's weird to put broccoli in chili. Probably all of you probably think it's weird. Broccoli in chili? Never heard of that. Using this is a good way to sneak it in, because you're going to have all the beans and the tomatoes and all the colorful, the spices and things, and you're hardly ever going to even see it's in there. So I'm going to jump over here really quick, just while that broccoli is getting a little bit tender, to my oven, my roasted vegetables that we're going to do. I've got my Brussels sprouts already sliced. I trim them and kind of, pull off the outer leaves and then cut them in half. And with our carrots, we're just going to cut like bite-sized pieces. And I have on there 3 medium carrots. And honestly, it doesn't really, you can use whatever kind of vegetables you want. I'm using Brussels sprouts and carrots and sweet potato. And make sure they cut so they cook well. Let's see, where's the rest? Did I do all my carrots? I must have done all my carrots. That doesn't look like all the carrots that I had. Okay, anyway, our carrots are in there. I'm going to take my sweet potato. And you can use the orange sweet potato if you'd like. I like the orange sweet potato, but I like to make kind of a sweet potato pudding where I put all the pumpkin pie seasonings in it and just eat it like kind of like pudding, like sweet potato pie, but just like pudding, like pumpkin pie. I love that for breakfast. Gives me so much energy. Or even I'll have it as just a little bit. I'll mix up a bunch and have it as like a kind of dessert, little after dinner treat, because it's so sweet, and like I said, it tastes like pie. So I'm just going to cut these in rounds. And about an inch thick. And I love these white sweet potatoes when they're in season, which they are right now. They just are so good and sweet. And I'm cutting them in rounds and cutting them in half and then cutting them threes like that. Where's my, put that over here. And I'm leaving the skins on. These are organic. I like to use the skin because there's nutrients in the skin. Okay, so to this, we're going to go back to our chili. And I'm going to go ahead and add in the other ingredients. I'm going to add my mushrooms. Mushrooms have aromatase inhibitors that keep estrogen levels low. Estrogen is one of those things that spurs on breast cancer. And they're angiogenesis inhibitors. Angiogenesis means that it means that you're growing. Something in your body is growing. When you're growing, angiogenesis is happening. So when you have a cancer cell, it wants to grow. So if you're feeding it things that stimulate growth, like dairy stimulates growth, right? A baby cow drinks milk from its mom to grow. Dairy stimulates growth. We shouldn't be, if we got cancer, that's not something we want to. Oh my gosh, thank you. What am I doing? I'm like talking is what I'm doing and not thinking. Thank you. I'm sure glad you caught that. Anyway, you get me talking about cancer and dairy and I just go crazy. Anyway, we want to stop that angiogenesis. We don't want that to be going on. And I was going to do my chili, and I still am. I'm just going to get these cut up. So mushrooms are anti-angiogenic. They stop that blood supply. So we want to get mushrooms in every day. In fact, some studies out of China show that Chinese women who ate one button mushroom, just like this, every day, just one, cut the risk of breast cancer by 64%. If they were drinking green tea, which a lot of people over there were drinking green tea, reduces that risk up to 89%. So we want to get some mushrooms in on a regular basis. They stimulate and regulate your immune function. They contain 22 proteins that lower cholesterol and blood pressure at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and add my seasonings, my spices, and we've got a Kirkland no salt seasoning, which you can use any kind of no salt seasonings, or you can not use any no salt seasoning. You can just use you can use just a combination like I've got off to the side here, or use a combination Mexican seasonings. We've got chili powder, cumin, coriander, onion powder, and dried oregano. That's just going to go right in there like that. And we are going to go with some, let's see, we're going to go with some tomato stuff, I guess. I guess that's we're down to that. We just can go ahead and add everything else. 1 can of crushed tomatoes. You can use chopped tomatoes. I actually prefer crushed tomatoes when I'm cooking with tomatoes. I don't like chunks of tomato for some reason in my cooked stuff. So, but you can use diced tomatoes if you'd like, but these are the crushed. And I don't like to waste a drop, so I'm going to clean out the can with some of my water. And we're putting 4 cups of water in this, or broth, whichever you want to use. And then we're going to do some tomato paste. I need a spoon, please. There's a spoon out there. Thank you. 1 can of tomato paste. I like a real rich tomatoey flavor, so if you wanted to go with less or whatever, you could. I just love the rich tomato flavor for chili. I keep smelling something burning. Do you smell it? No. Okay. I wondered if there was maybe something in the oven, but I don't think there is. I don't think there is. So I like to use tomato. Oh, maybe that's it. I like to use tomato paste and kind of make my own tomato sauce if I'm making a tomato sauce. Tomato paste has just tomatoes in it, as a rule. Tomato sauce has salt and sometimes sugar and sometimes natural flavorings, and I don't know what a natural flavor is, so I'd prefer not to use it. That can be anything, really, if you think about it. So I just do not use that. Okay, and then we're going to do some green chilies. Your recipe sheet says 1 4-ounce can, I believe. I buy the 505 brand at Costco. They're medium heat, so they're a little bit hotter. And that's mild. That 4-ounce can is mild. I should probably have that on there. And so I'm only using a 1/4 cup of the medium heat green chilies, the 505 brand that Costco sells. I have a young man that used to work for me here at the college. I work here on campus, and he says that 505 brand is from where he's at in New Mexico, where he grew up. And apparently they're like the best chilies ever. Does anybody know about 505 brand being the best? Okay. Well, apparently they are. So they are really good. I like them. Huh?
Does it come in a jar?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, like a 32-ounce big jar. I have to divide mine out and freeze it because I can't eat that much before. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put in the rest of our broth or our water, and we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. So we've got. Have I got everything? We've got our onion, garlic, mushrooms, broccoli, all of our tomato stuff, chilies, spices. Okay, we're ready for beans. Okay, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the healthier your gut is. So we want to get more beans, more legumes into our diet. Beans are 20 to 37% protein. And these beans, so the pinto beans and these black beans, I cooked from scratch. And all I did is I cover them with water, dry beans, cover it with water, and let them soak for up to 24 hours. And then I dump off that water, and you can use canned beans. Please use canned beans if you don't want to do your own. In fact, I'm using a little bit of canned beans because I don't have quite the amount of black beans that I needed. Anyway, you drain that water off. I throw them in my crock pot and cook them either all night for 8 hours. I set my timer on my crock pot. Or I cook them, put them on in the morning, and when I get home from work, they're done. So I'm either waking up to cooked beans or coming home to cooked beans, and it's just really easy. I can control what's going in them, and usually beans are pretty clean. But sometimes you get the fancy like S&W. These aren't. These are the organic ones, S&Ws at Costco, and they're really clean. I think it's only black beans, water, and sea salt. So, and I am going to use a little bit of black because I didn't have quite the amount of frozen black beans that I thought I did. So we're just going to add a few more of the canned. So beans have been shown to cut your risk of colon cancer. For those who, in studies, for those who ate 1 cup of beans twice a week, cut the risk of colon cancer in half. That's one of our leading cancer killers in our country. So what if we're getting maybe a 1/2 cup every day in our salad, in our dinner, whatever? We could greatly reduce our risk. They're high in complex carbohydrates, which are a precursor to serotonin. Serotonin is the feel-good chemical that's released into your brain to make you happy. They're high in fiber, which decreases inflammation, removes cholesterol and other fats out of the body. They feed your good gut bacteria. We all want to have a good, healthy gut microbiome. Beans are really great for that. I'm going to go ahead and add some corn. There's not any great things about corn other than the bad thing about corn is 90-some% of the corn grown in our country is genetically modified. So it's good to do, if we can, do organic corn. And this is from Costco. This is just the frozen corn in Costco. Really sweet, really good, yummy corn. And it's just a good complex carbohydrates. We don't need to be afraid of carbohydrates. Carbs, the word, you know, that everybody talks about that's so bad. I got to lower my carbs. If you're lowering your carbs, you're lowering the food that gives you the most energy. Carbohydrates give you energy. That's like gas to your vehicle. Carbohydrates are gas to your body. So we want to eat good, healthy carbohydrates, whole food carbohydrates. They help to stabilize blood sugar, lower blood pressure and cholesterol, increases fat burning, and decreases fat storage after a meal. That's beans. Softens stool and regulates bowel, promotes bowel regularity. We want to take the garbage out every single day. Powerful anti-cancer benefits. 1/4 cup of beans cuts precancerous polyps by 65%. All right. So more beans. I think I'm probably done with that, but I can't promise you. Oh, and we're going to put, so your recipe says 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I forgot to change that to, we're going to do lime. So you can do the vinegar or the lime. I'm going to do lime because I've been using lots of limes lately. I do use a lot of apple cider vinegar though. So we're just going to let that stew, and see, that was pretty, I mean, it's half hour. Actually less than that, but that came together pretty quick. We are going to add some salt to this, except I probably didn't bring it like I did last time. Oh, great. That's great. Is there any salt around here? Okay. Okay. There should be, I would think.
Yes.
Okay. We'll add that. Well, we'll go ahead and add it now because I might forget later. I like to use the Redmond sea salt, but honestly, according to Dr. Goldner, she just uses regular iodized salt because you got to get iodine. She's like, in fact, she has said, I'm using about a teaspoon. She said, since this whole craze with the salt, the non-iodized salt, sea salt, red Himalayan salt, all this non-iodized salt, she says she sees people whose iodine levels are low. She tells them you got to get some iodine, either regular iodized salt or take an iodine supplement. So if you're not getting your iodine that way. Okay, we're just going to turn that down to very low. I'm going to move back over to my vegetables over here. And we'll go ahead and I'm going to finish cutting up that sweet potato. So I decided, who has an air fryer in here? Only one person? Oh, yay, okay. Then I'm speaking to my people. No, I actually have one, but when I've used it, I don't know how to use it, I guess, and I haven't taken the time to play around with it. So I just need to figure it out because people tell me, in fact, I've always done just baked potatoes in the oven, like French fries, oven fries, and they work fine. But sweet potatoes, I have to cook them too long and they get too dried out, and I've tried to like roast vegetables. So to make them crispy, you either got to use oil or you've got to use an air fryer. I don't have an air fryer, I don't want to use oil. So I've kind of been playing around trying to get roasted vegetables to work out for me. And this is kind of what I've come up with. I'm going to put in some Brussels sprouts. They are like one of my favorite cooked vegetables. So this is just kind of my way of roasting, because a friend of mine, and I've heard this several times, is you just, with like sweet potatoes, like boil them first, cook them a little bit, and then put them in your air fryer. And I'm like, well, then you've got to dirty a pan, and it's just one more step, and I'm lazy. I don't want to do all that. So I want to just put it in the oven and let them cook. So what I'm doing is I am going to put a little bit of a dressing on them. Let's see, I want to make sure we've got everything in here. I've got my sweet potatoes, bell pepper, Brussels sprouts, carrots. Okay. And then we're going to put our balsamic vinegar, a third of a cup of balsamic vinegar. And look for, that was one of the questions that came up with Dr. Goldner today was, what do you think about balsamic vinegar? And she says, I used to be a big fan until they started making all these specialty balsamic vinegars that have 6, 7, 8, 10 grams of sugar in them. Not good. You want to look for something that's less than 3 grams of sugar. This actually Costco brand that I use has 6 grams of sugar, and I just realized that today after I heard her. I went home and checked my bottle. I don't use it hardly ever, just in something like this. But she says if they're really thick and sweet, it's got too much sugar in them. So she doesn't recommend it. I'm sure if you're not eating it every day, you're going to be just fine. So we've got 1/3 cup of balsamic, and then I've got 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, garlic salt, garlic granules, and 1 teaspoon of onion granules. And I'm just going to mix that all good. And I planned on putting this all in one cookie sheet, but I got thinking maybe it may not even fit. But we'll see. And I've got a backup if it doesn't all fit, because you want to make sure they're all in one layer. You don't want them overlapping. Okay, we're going to put these out on our cookie sheet, lined with parchment, and spread them out like so. This would probably be enough. Okay, I think I might just call it good. I think that's probably going to be enough, really, for you guys. Get those Brussels sprouts in there because they're so good. And Brussels sprouts, we got another cruciferous vegetable going on, although we're cooking these at really high temperatures. Now, the only reason I'm really doing the bell pepper is for color. You pretty much destroy bell pepper when you're cooking it, especially at high temperatures like this. So what I'm doing, huh?
Did you add the peas?
No, those are going to go in later because they are already cooked. They're thawed, frozen thawed. Do I not have that on? I think I have those to stir in at the end. So what we're going to do, instead of boiling my potatoes and the vegetables before, we're just going to basically bake them and kind of steam them. Okay, so this is, you're cooking them, but they're kind of drying out a little bit, but they're not getting so dried out when you got them covered. So we're going to put them in there for 35 minutes, which we might be here for a while. We might have to have chili and salad and then have those after. I love Siri. Yeah, and dessert, right.
Have that for dessert.
Oh, have that for dessert, yeah. Okay. All right, so we want those in for 35 minutes, yes. And then we're going to stir in the, see, I was going to use that pan, but I'm afraid if I put 2 layers, it'll affect the cooking. And I've had problems with those cooking when, I want to make sure they get cooked. So, all right, let's go over and do our cookies. Wait a minute, you know what? These have got to go in the bottom oven.
Okay.
I have that set for 425. That's okay. That was my bad. Yeah, that would be bad. We'd be here till midnight if it went that long. Okay, so we're going to do the cookies now. These are banana bread cookies. I believe a good healthy diet has room for a dessert, but I like to make my desserts healthy, whole food ingredients. Now, when you're making cookies, you've got flour and you've got oil and you've got sugar, right? That's pretty much in every type of a cookie, unless you're making healthy cookies with black beans and weird things like that. But we're doing more whole foods, although we are going to grind things down a little bit. But we're going to start off with our flour, which we're going to use rolled oats. These are gluten-free rolled oats in case if anybody's concerned about gluten. I try to do gluten-free in my classes, and I pretty much do gluten-free most of the time anyway. But that's a cup and a half actually rolled oats, sorry. The recipe for this is on the back of your sheet. By the way, on the back of your sheet, I know you've seen this, but just YouTube videos. I encourage you to go check some of those people out if you're interested in learning more about nutrition and things like that. These are my favorite doctors that I've learned from ever since 1991, pretty much, when I changed. Those documentaries, wonderful if you haven't seen them, and then those books. And then I've got my favorite kitchen tools, the Vidalia Chop Wizard, my Vitamix blender, which I'll be using later, and my Cuisinart. Actually, this is KitchenAid food processor. Cuisinart food processor is also great. So, okay, back to the cookies. We're going to start off with our flour, which we're using oats instead, and we want to do some fats or some oils, but we don't want to use processed oils. We want to use whole food oils. So I'm going to use a half a cup of pecans. The great thing about using whole food fats, nuts, seeds, avocados. By the way, avocados don't raise cholesterol. They lower cholesterol. Nuts can be a little bit tricky. You got to be careful with nuts. There's a reason they come in a hard shell. You know, if we had to go pick our pecans and sit down and crack them, we probably wouldn't eat handfuls at a time. Maybe we would, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to put in our oils right there, which is in the whole food form. Now, again, the beauty with that is when you're eating these nuts, you're chewing them, and it takes a while to chew, and then you swallow them, and then your body has to kind of break down the fats, and it's because of the fibers. Some of those fats are bound to the fibers, and they go right through you into the toilet bowl. Okay, when you're eating free oils like olive oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil, all the oils, there's nothing to bind those fats, and so they go right where you don't want them to go. When you're eating them with whole foods, again, there's fiber to help them move through your system. And your body knows what to do with those fats because it's in its whole food natural form. When you take it from a bottle, it's non-natural. So, and again, if you're super healthy, your weight's good, you're probably good to eat a little bit with whatever, you know, but, you know, why? If you don't need to, why? So, okay, let's do our seasonings. We're going to go with some cinnamon and nutmeg and baking soda, I believe, in here. And that's all our dry ingredients. We're going to go ahead and just grind this all up and just kind of pulse first. Yes, I did. And a fork. You can grab me a fork. So there we kind of just made our flour and released some of the oils from the nuts by doing that. And then we've got our seasonings in there. Now we're going to go ahead and add our sugars. And I like to use dates for my whole food sweeteners. Again, when it's a whole food, your body breaks down the fiber and the carbohydrates in these foods, and so the sugar absorption is much slower than if you were to put in a cup of just processed sugar into this. Much better choice. And with all the fibers, you're also getting lots of micronutrients. You know, dates are a whole food fruit. You know, they're a fruit, and they're lots of nutrients. I've got about 22 dates in here, 25, it depends on the size. And you know, you can kind of adjust according to how sweet and how not sweet you want these. We're going to use some bananas as well, so that's going to up the sugar content. And we're going to go ahead and do about a teaspoon of vanilla, and I just kind of guess on the vanilla. And I didn't mean for my bananas to be so ripe, but these are going to be fine because the riper they are, the more sweet they are. And also the more banana flavor they are. I find that, you know, if you don't want something so strong in banana, and it says 1 banana, these are a little bit small, so I'm going to put in just a little bit more of this other one, and then just kind of toss these bananas, because they're super, super ripe, and I don't think, do you want that? You want that banana? Okay. Smoothie. Okay, and then we're going to go with some apple cider vinegar and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And that mixed with the baking soda is going to just kind of help these rise up just a little bit. Those are done. Okay, now we're just going to grind this up and make our cookie dough. So I didn't mention the dates were soaked in a half a cup of water. And the reason I did that is so that they grind down much easier. And I've also done that with our dressing that we're using. So with the dressing, and I'll actually talk about that later, but anyway, it just makes the dates grind down much easier. If you didn't, like if you just think, oh, I want to make some cookies, oh shoot, I didn't soak any dates, you could grind those dates up with the oats and the nuts, and they'll grind up fine. It just takes a little bit longer for them to get chopped up, and then you can add that water later, that half a cup of water or whatever later. Huh? What?
So you added the water with the dates?
Yes, I soak the dates with water to soften them up, and then I just put everything right in there. And again, if you want to if you don't have any date soak and you want to just put them in, grind them up and then add the water, but it needs a little bit of that moisture. Those bananas were so ripe, though. I forgot to think about the fact that because they're so ripe, they're more moist, and so I can tell that this is a little bit moister cookie dough, but I think it'll be fine. They'll be more like a cake consistency, which is fine. Wow, they are really soft. So if you wanted to add, they might take a little bit longer to cook too, actually. If you wanted to add some chopped nuts to this, you could do that to give it a little bit of a texture. Personally, I've never really liked nuts in cookies, or really nuts in. I like nuts, I just don't like them in cookies or ice cream. It's like, why do you want to ruin smooth ice cream with nuts?
I don't think that's ruining.
But actually, you know, if I'm doing a chunky cookie with nuts, if I've got lots of chunk in it, like nuts and raisins and chocolate chips, then I like it. But if it's like a kind of a smooth, like banana bread, and it's got a big chunk of walnut in it, ugh. I'm weird. I'm probably weird that way. So yeah, feel free to add some nuts to these if you want, and even some chocolate chips if you want. Some healthy chocolate chips, dark chocolate chips. I'm not spreading these out very good because we're going to have more dough. Let's see, I better. And these won't spread, so I could actually put these a little bit closer together. They won't expand at all. And we'll just spin I like to spin the blade, and that cleans that off. I'm not going to need this anymore. We're done with this. Let's see if I can find a spot for these. Well, I did a really good job of not giving enough space between. That's all right. They'll be just fine. I'm not going to try to make a cookie out of that. You can lick the bowl if you'd like.
You bet.
Okay, these are going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for probably about 20 minutes. I think it says 15 to 17, but with those really ripe bananas, it might take a little bit longer. It made them.
Siri.
Can you?
Timer for 20 minutes.
Can you do 2 timers on Siri?
I don't know. I hope so.
She's amazing, or he, or whoever he is.
He's my Siri.
Okay, let's go with our dressing. So the best thing, absolutely best thing you can do for your health is to eat more raw vegetables. Green vegetables, but raw vegetables in particular, raw green vegetables. Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who is a doctor that I have followed for years as well, he says make the salad the main dish at least 1 meal every day, and make it a meal. Make it big. None of this little tiny salad bowl kind of things. You know, put different types of greens, peppers, carrots, beans, whole grains. Make it a meal. Make it really hearty and yummy. But you got to have a good dressing. We don't want to make this great, yummy, low-calorie salad and dump, you know, a quarter cup of oil on it, right? That's 400 calories of when your salad's maybe 150 calories. We want to keep it low. So, when you're buying salad dressing at the grocery store and you're looking at labels like you always do when you buy anything out of a package, right? You look at labels. That's what we're supposed to do anyway. Do we have my little spatula thingy?
Hang on. Gotta watch it.
So we want to look at our ingredients, and there's always oil. Like if you're looking at a vinegar type dressing, you're going to see oil, you're going to see sugar, and you're going to see vinegar for the most part. So I've got everything. I've got all three of those in here in whole food form. I've got vinegar and our sugar, which is dates. I've got 10 to 12 dates, again, depending on how sweet you like it. I kind of have a tendency to like sweet. And then I've got chia seeds. I've got a tablespoon of chia seeds. You can use sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds aren't going to thicken as well as chia seeds. So if you do sunflower seeds or nuts, you can use nuts as well. You could completely not use any nuts, but I'm wanting to get a little bit of fats, some good healthy fats in my diet, and chia seeds are one of your best. It's high in omega-3 fatty acids. The omega-3 fatty acids are good for cellular repair. Dr. Goldner recommends a half a cup in her hyper-nourishing smoothie that she has every day. She recommends that half a cup of chia seeds every day. And it is a lot, but the smoothie is huge. Like my Vitamix jar, the regular size one, is completely full to the top of that smoothie. And that's just something I kind of drink all day, or actually I do, I drink it all day. But anyway, so we want to get chia seeds in if we can. Again, if you don't have them, use some sunflower seeds, something just to add a little bit of fats and to thicken this a little bit. But the chia seeds thicken it really nice. So, and also the dates thicken it. Now that doesn't look very appetizing, but I've got those again soaking in that water and the vinegar. And that's just going to help soften that and make it blend so much easier when it's time to blend. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm just going to pour that in my, oh, you know what I just had the thought. I want to check that chili, and it's probably boiling like crazy. Yes, it is. But I'm glad it's not burnt. We're just going to push that off to the side. It doesn't need to cook anymore. It's going to be super hot. That's what happens. I get going and I forget what I'm doing. It looks really good, though. Hopefully it's good. Okay. So we're going to just put that in our blender jar. And you want to soak those seeds as well. Unless if you've got a Vitamix or a Blendtec, a strong blender, you don't have to soak them. But you want to make sure you blend those down, because even if has anybody heard of chia pudding? Okay, you want to, if you're eating it just for a treat or whatever, that's fine. But if you're wanting to get omega-3 fatty acids from it, if you're looking to reduce inflammation, cellular repair, all that kind of thing, you want to make sure they get ground down. So that's what we're doing here with our dressing. All right, and then we're going to add, I don't have my juices in here. I wanted the juices to be fresher because I had those soaking since last night. But you can soak them for like 4 hours. If you're going to soak them, just soak them for 3 or 4 hours, and they'll soften up pretty good to where you can blend them. But I've got in here my quarter cup of lemon juice and lime juice, both at the same time there. And then we're going to put in our seasonings, which is a tablespoon of coriander. Does anybody in here hate cilantro? Okay. It's okay if you say that you do, but we're still going to use the cilantro. Okay, so we've got a tablespoon of coriander, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, and 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, and just a little dash of cayenne pepper. And we're going to just dump all that in there. And we're going to go ahead and just blend this all up. Then we're going to come over. Oh, actually, I do need my knife. We're going to come over here, and you can take this too if you want. And chop our, I didn't put my lime. I need to put the lime in the chili. I'm going to wipe off that counter a little bit.
Yeah, I don't have a washcloth, but I couldn't find one.
And I almost brought one from home.
I usually have one, but maybe they're spongy.
Okay. We're just going to chop, just kind of rough chop that cilantro. I did. Yeah, I washed it really good. Really good ahead of time. We want about a cup. A handful is usually about a cup. We'll put a little bit more in. This is going to be very, very cilantro-y. And I chop the stalk as well, like the stem. I don't know, so I've seen some people picking off the leaves. It's like, oh, that's a little bit too much work for me. Whoop. Where's my spatula? That's one thing about that high speed. When you just turn it right on, it kind of blows up on you. So we just want to kind of briefly chop. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. And with all those spices, it's a pretty strong dressing, so when you pour it on your salad, just be really careful not to overpower. You don't want salad with your dressing. You want dressing with your salad. All right. And if you want to thin this down, it's pretty thick. If you wanted to thin it down with a little bit of more vinegar, more juice, little bit of water, you could do that. And we'll get a get one of these to serve it in. You can see how thick that is. It doesn't look very appealing because it's kind of green. So it's not a really pretty dressing. But when you're cooking with whole foods, sometimes things aren't real pretty. Because, you know, you're using green things and brown things, and you're very rarely using white things unless you're using cauliflower. That's cauliflower and sweet potato. That's about the only white things you're using when you're cooking with whole foods. Hopefully you're not using, white rice is okay. Brown rice is way better because you're getting the fiber. Okay. We'll put a little spoon in there for you for when we serve it, so you want to find a spoon for them. All right, so our salad, how's our veggies coming anyway? Oh, we probably only have, well, we've got a little bit of time left. Oh, yeah, what about our cookies, too?
I have two
Oh,
timers going,
oh.
so we have 10 on the cookies and 15 on the veggies.
Oh, okay. We'll have longer than that on the veggies because they got to go more. Okay, that's okay. Okay, let's see. We've got so just a few things while I'm thinking about it, because the cookies we were using some whole grains. We want to use, if we can, we want to try to stick to whole grains, like whole intact grains. Now we used oats in our cookies, but that's a dessert, and we kind of compromise when we're having desserts. But when we're eating our main meal, we want to try to stick to whole foods if we can. Does that mean you can never have bread again? Of course not. Bread can be a healthy addition to your diet. Ezekiel bread is about the best kind of bread that you can be eating. It's a sprouted wheat bread. My husband says it tastes like cardboard. I think it's really good, especially when you toast it and put hummus on it or avocado. Avocado toast is so good on that bread. But anyway, when I'm talking whole grains, I'm talking about intact whole grains. So the whole grain, the whole oat, the whole quinoa, the whole millet, whatever. Dr. Brenda Davis, she's a registered dietitian. She has what she calls the whole grain hierarchy. So it starts off with intact whole grains, so like the whole wheat berry, rice, quinoa, millet, buckwheat, sorghum, that kind of thing. And then the next one down is cut grains, like your steel cut oats, that type of thing. Then your rolled grains, that's a little bit lower down, and I'll explain kind of what I'm talking about. And then your shredded grains, like shredded wheat, things like that, although that's a highly processed, cooked at high temperature type of a food. It's probably not something we should be eating regularly. And then we've got ground grains, which is a flour. Even your whole wheat flour has a really high glycemic index. They say it's pretty close to even sugar. So even like a Great Harvest bread, if you're familiar with Great Harvest bread or that prairie bread that you can get at Costco that's very finely ground and really good and really sweet, to me that's like eating cake. And you can just tell. I mean, I can feel it. When I eat something like that, I can feel the effect on my blood sugar. I'm pretty sensitive though to sugars. So, and then you've got flaked grain like cereal. That's even lower than your flour. And then you've got puffed grain. And you know, she talks about how we think rice cakes are so good for us and popcorn so good for us. And it's fine for a snack, for a treat, whatever, but it's puffed. And when you're adding all that air to it, you're breaking. So what's happening when you're processing them and you're going down this line and you're processing them more and more and more and more, you're making those carbohydrates much more bioavailable. Your body's absorbing them much quicker. You're increasing the glycemic index. And so it's affecting your blood sugar more. So the best way to eat them, again, is in whole intact form, and then as you go down they get less and less and less favorable. So if we can just try to stay at the top of that list, that's the best. But whole grains reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. They reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and strokes. They protect against some types of cancers. They're a great source of complex carbohydrates. Again, we don't want to limit our carbohydrates. We want to eat lots of carbohydrates, whole intact carbohydrates. They're rich in minerals, they're filling, and they help you to stay full. They increase weight loss, okay, again, but if they're in whole food form, they're gonna reduce that risk of having you gain weight. I know I can put on weight very easily when I'm eating a lot of bread, but if I'm eating whole intact grains, I eat about 2.5 to 3 cups of whole grains a day, and as long as they're intact and whole grain, I don't feel that effect on my blood sugar, and they don't put weight on me. I wish they kind of would a little bit, because I could use a little bit. But they're anti-inflammatory. They contain resistant starch. They're good for your mental clarity. Let's see. They're rich in vitamin E. Anyway, they're just a really great source of a lot of nutrients, and we want to be sure and get some of those in every day. It's good. And they're good for your gut. They have resistant starch in them, which is really great to feed your gut microbiome. Okay, let's jump over to our salad. So I have got, I kind of started off the salad here. I wanted to shred my oh, you know what? I forgot to put in the red onion in our dressing. Oh, well, darn. We'll put it in our salad. How's that? So we've got a small head of romaine lettuce, and the amounts on here are just kind of an estimate. I mean, this is a salad. You can make it however you want. My thought was kind of more of a Mexican type of a salad. So because we're doing chili and the dressing is a cilantro lime, so I've got a small head of romaine lettuce chopped, and then I've got some cabbage, some green cabbage shredded. I love green cabbage. It's kind of, when I have it shredded or grated even, like a coleslaw, it kind of is like iceberg lettuce, and I don't ever use iceberg lettuce because there's not a lot of nutrients in it, but cabbage is full of nutrients. It's a cruciferous vegetable, and remember, those cruciferous vegetables are what protect you against cancer, and especially if they're raw, which is how we're using them tonight. Now, red cabbage is even better because of those antioxidants in the red. By the way, antioxidants are the color in the food. Scientists believe that we get, I'm going to start cutting my jicama up while I gab. Scientists believe we get 10,000 oxidative hits a day. So we know what oxidation is. When we set a cut apple on the counter and we let it sit for a little while, it starts to turn brown. That's oxidation. Rusting is oxidation. Scientists believe that we basically kind of rust. We oxidize the inside of our body. We get as we age, you know, our skin gets wrinkly. We get spots. We're oxidizing. We're aging. And the more antioxidants we eat, the less those oxidative compounds effect is going to have on our body. So the foods with the highest antioxidants are those highest in color. So our red bell peppers, red onions, anything that's got a deep dark color. Your green leafies, of course. Not jicama, although I love jicama. And I'm just adding this to our salad. And you can cut it however you want. I've got it on your recipe as strips, but I think I'm just gonna chop this in. We could do it in the chopper, but I'll just do it by hand. I love jicama. It's just a great sweet, and this is a really nice sweet one too. You just bought some today? They're really good. This time of year, so they're a Mexican vegetable. They come from Mexico, I think, most of the time. And also, although bell peppers do as well, oftentimes. But in Mexico, or south of the equator, I guess it's not Mexico. It wouldn't be Mexico. It'd be even further south than that. They're at the end of their summer, which is when, like if you're growing bell peppers, they're not ripe until the end of the summer, right? Till like August, September, it seems like. So that's when they're best, that time of year, which is what, I don't know, when these are coming from, I guess it's not Mexico, but anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about apparently, because they're not south of the equator. Anyway, they're just good this time of year. I know that. Okay, let's see. Do we want a little bit? I think I'm going to go with one more slice of the jicama. And I just cut off the end and then set it on that end and then cut it that way. That just makes it a little bit easier. And then I'll just cut off the skin. And slice. Okay, and then we're going to add some red bell pepper. Again, we got our lots of vitamin C in that red bell pepper. The red. In fact, you think vitamin C, oranges during the winter we drink orange juice. We want to get that vitamin C. Red bell peppers have cayenne peppers. Any kind of peppers have way more vitamin C than your oranges do. I'm sorry, Jan, I'm putting avocado in this because avocado is amazing if you can eat it. So that just adds some creaminess to it. And, we're going to do a little bit of red onion. And I'm sad that I forgot to blend that up in the blender. I didn't have it sitting over there. That's my problem. And we won't go too much red onion. And we'll keep those in larger slices in case somebody's not crazy about red onion. And then we're going to go with some avocado. So I've been using just a ton of avocado lately, and I love to mash it up and mix it in. So I'll chop some kale, some raw kale, and some green cabbage or red cabbage. That's actually my lunch, is raw kale and red cabbage. And then I'll mash up an entire avocado and massage it into the cabbage and the kale. And that helps to break down the fibers in the kale and makes it so good. I add some vinegar, a little bit of salt, and it's so good. Is that the vegetables? Oh, you're probably right. Except they're probably going to need, was that for 17 minutes or 20?
20.
We probably want to let those go a little bit longer. They look like they're, yeah, like 3 minutes. They look like they're a little bit soft. Let's see. I think there's a spoon in here. That's a big spoon, but we'll use it anyway. So anyway, yeah, that avocado is great that way. I like to mash up avocado, and even like if I'm steaming vegetables, I'll steam my vegetables and then take it off the burner and then stir in some mashed avocado, and it's like adding butter. You don't need to add butter. You can add avocado if you can eat avocado, if you like avocado. So, And I'm just gonna, just because I really like doing this and it just gets it kind of in there, I'm just gonna kind of break that up and mix that in. Oh, no, I'll leave that alone. And kind of break down that avocado and get it kind of just mixed in good. Break it down a little bit. Now, if I was not having chili tonight and just having this salad for lunch, I would probably add some black beans, maybe some rice to this, and make it a really filling, you know, meal with those two things. Or just beans, just rice, combination of both. And then you've got your dressing, of course, you're going to add to it. I was going to say something else, but anyway. And then, of course, you can add whatever else you want to add to this, but we're just going to keep this like this tonight. So, okay, let's put some lemon juice or some lime juice in our chili. And I might have to add a little bit more salt. I don't know, I'll probably have you taste the chili and see if it needs some more salt. I'm gonna put, that's a pretty juicy lime, so.
We could put the salt out.
Oh, that's true. You can always add, in fact, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
You guys can add, if you're a salt person, you can add more salt, and if you're not a salt person, you can not add salt. I think we'll add a little bit more of that lemon lime. And you can just kind of do that lime juice to taste. Limes and lemons seems like, you know, sometimes you get a little bit more out of them than you plan on or whatever, or don't get enough, so you have to add a little bit more. But there, I'm just going to sprinkle those peas on top. If you didn't get enough of me tonight, if you want to catch some of my previous classes, if you're interested, but it's at Health for Life Cooking is the name of Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube.